Now Pokemon is a huge franchise, and I mean huge. The main appeal of Pokemon are the actual monsters themselves though. They're big, small, adorable, ferocious, and all these other things because the franchise is just that huge. Now every Pokemon has to go through that seal of approval process before you see them, so you already know some Pokemon have either been altered or scrapped before the actual game is released. Here are some unreleased and some unused Pokemon that you probably didn't know existed before watching this video. Be sure to leave a like and suggest some other cool little ideas you would like to see done, because this video is actually dope to make since it required a lot of research to know about these Pokemon to begin with. Number 5 on the list is actually pretty dope, seeing as they're made after monsters we all know about, plus it's 2 Pokemon that were introduced in the exact same sitting, which is why it's 2 Pokemon in one part of this countdown. Coming from the OG Capsule Monster series, Godzilla and Gorilla are some of the first Pokemon sketches ever shown to the public. Godzilla has actually been shown in a Pocket Monsters manga issue, along with some other Pokemon that we have yet to know any names about or any information on as well. Gorilla might actually be a Donkey Kong reference, with his hat referring to the Mother series, you know, Ness the character. And of course, later down the line, Game Freak would introduce a lot of ape-based Pokemon, but it's still pretty dope to see how already they were ahead of the curve when it came to making the designs for some Pokemon. Both of these Pokemon look like they might be based off of Godzilla and King Kong, and there's so many other references you can make to base them off of. Another thing I like to add is that just judging off of appearance coming from some fan art, Godzilla looks like a beta version of Larvitar, so maybe this may be going back to the whole first and second gen just being one big humongous adventure altogether. Because of course, if you remember, Game Freak were going to end Pokemon at the first and second gen. But due to how popular the series ended up being, they had to continue, and here we are today. Number 4 on the list goes to Kurusu. Now this thing is actually from a gold and silver alpha demo, and has a lot of information about him out already, but obviously was scrapped. The national dex number for this Pokemon was 212, but apparently he was going to be the water starter for the Johto region at some point. He knew the moves Growl, Water Gun, and Tackle, so maybe they were thinking about giving the starters their type moves at level 5, kind of like how they did with X and Y later in the series. Fans think that this Pokemon might have inspired Steel's design, but it looks more like a Seal to me. And maybe at some point Seal was never supposed to be in first gen, and this was like a pre-evolution to him and Dugong. There's definitely a lot of mystery around this thing, but it's unfortunate we're never going to be able to see this thing in our lives besides stories and fan art. So we're at the top 3 now, and number 3 is so dope to me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people as well. Here's Latican. Coming from the beta of Ruby and Sapphire, this thing is supposed to be what Blaziken was supposed to look like before Latias was made. It's weird to see how both Pokemon were essentially one, but split into 2 by the final phase of the games. Now obviously this looks more Blaziken, but you can't ignore the Latias wings or Latias' neck and head on top of it. Even the trainer riding the Pokemon has changed by the time you see the final artwork. Unfortunately though, she is unnamed, but she kind of resembles a Pokemon Ranger to me personally. I mean, maybe she was Zinnia before Zinnia was introduced in the Horn remakes. I don't know, but it's something to think about, seeing how she isn't even in the games to begin with. There's also concept art of an early Torchic design for this Pokemon as well, and you can see on its head there are some wings and some fan art for Combusken's beta design as well. It's just a pretty cool design and change in look to me personally. So number 2 on the list is also coming from the Gold and Silver days, and actually resembles a lot of Pokemon that we already know. This unknown and unnamed Pokemon is called Peritop by the fans, and that's because they think it's an early evolution of Tyrogue, with the design scheme of Hitmontop. Honestly though, to me, it looks like a fighting type Clefairy, and with the fact that Alolan forms are a thing and Executor was hinted at in earlier Pokemon promo art, saying that wouldn't be too far-fetched, but I can see where people are coming from. It first was showcased alongside some unknown trainers that resemble a Last Trainer and a Psychic or Tamer Trainer, and maybe that Tamer Trainer or Psychic Trainer was Morty at some point. I have absolutely no idea. It's just weird to see these early versions of Pokemon we know now looking so ugly compared to the ones we already see and play with, but it's like the mystery that comes with this Pokemon that makes it good enough to be number 2. For me, honestly. So since you've already met Kurusu, and I'm pretty sure we've all seen Chikorita's earlier designs, there's one more starter Pokemon from Johto you've probably never seen before. Number 1 on the list goes to Hanaguma. Now Hanaguma doesn't have a national dex number attached to him unlike Kurusu did, but I'm pretty sure you could slap him with them together and he'd be perfectly fine. Unlike Cyndaquil, that's a fire mouse, this Pokemon is a Fire Bear. In the Alpha, this was the Fire Starter Pokemon. He knew moves like Ember, Scratch, and Leer, basically further adding to my point that they might have been trying to pull an X and Y with the starters like they did with Kurusu. Maybe Chikorita had Absorb in his earlier designs. For whatever reason, even if Game Freak did say it was a starter Pokemon, some people think it's related to Teddiursa. Maybe when they scrapped this thing for Cyndaquil, they used it as a basis and dropped the fire typing entirely for Teddiursa's normal type. It sucks because to this day, we still don't have a fire type bear, but at this point, would it even be groundbreaking to compete with modern day Mons? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now I could have made this a lot longer, seeing as there are a lot more Pokemon that have been unreleased and unused, but I decided against this, seeing as some weren't that appealing, besides the one that looked like Tortuga from 5th gen, basically ends Gold and Silver. But hopefully this was still enjoyable and hopefully you learned something. I mean, if not, that's totally fine, but if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Pokemon content like this and pretty much a lot more stuff to come. Maybe even suggest some topics you'd like to see me cover in other videos in the comment section. That's gonna be it, guys. Talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Bye.